Hello. Welcome back. Thank you, as always, for tuning in and for joining me here. We're going to have an interesting conversation today about the way that we mess ourselves up, the way that we get in our own way and we stumble over ourselves repeatedly again and again, and we bewilder ourselves and complicate our lives unnecessarily. And all of that. In English, there's another verb that starts with the letter F. Yeah, how we do that to ourselves repeatedly. So we're invited not to make error real. So if you're not familiar with the Course in Miracles, first of all, welcome. Even if you've been doing this for 30 years, again, welcome. What error? Separation. There is no separation of any kind. That is the error. This sense that we have that we're separate from God. And from that perceived and imagined separation, because it's not true, we perceive ourselves as separate from one another. We seem to look about, and the body's eyes show us 8 billion plus things running around called human beings, and we think that's who we are. Our biology textbooks tell us so, after all, which in this sense is almost like someone saying, well, I saw it on the internet, must be right. We're not a body, yet we're conditioned quite clearly to think that we are. And we seem to see other bodies, we seem to see other species, we see one separation after another. And along comes this thing called A Course in Miracles saying, yeah, don't make error real. So, what we mean by this is don't make the separation real. It is not. Now, this is one of these ideas that's fundamental, of course. Well, it's fundamental to all spirituality, not just A Course in Miracles. This, yes, is only one of many, many doors in spirituality, just one tradition, one thought system that exists out of multiple traditions, of course. It is. It's just one of them. But this applies to all spirituality. All these doors are headed to the same place. They all open onto the same place. All of them lead to God in the end. Why? There is nothing else. There is no separation of any kind at all. So when we choose to see error, separation, well, voila, that's what we get. Genocide and warfare in the worst cases. And even at the so-called best of times, we pick up our social media feed and look at our brother's ridiculous posts and judge. First of all, we take a look at the post and think, how could that person ever think that? That's ridiculous. And then we judge the person that wrote it, the platform that has been given this person to express their views just because they can, and so on and so forth. That is only one example. So, how do we make error real? Well, we want to believe in it. I know. You may say that you don't want to believe in it, and excellent. If you don't, good, don't. Because when we want to believe in it, we actually have to make it real and concrete for ourselves because it isn't true. It actually does not exist. So when we want to believe in error, we have to concretize it. We have to make it solid and real and a thing to ourselves. It is a massive mental formulation, orchestration, manipulation, effort. We have to go through that in our mind in order to see it and experience it. We want to make it real. We want to believe in it. So we have to make it our so-called reality. Separation. We have to make this our so-called reality. We have to make our economic status and our job, our career, a so-called reality. We have to make our national origin a so-called reality. And what we do is we dig ourselves deeper and deeper into suffering, and we do it all through absolutely no fault of our own. In fact, we're conditioned to do this. So here you are at a very important time in your trajectory, in your journey walk path, whatever you wish to call it, because you've done something critically important that, first of all, I thank you for. And secondly, you may not even have any idea how critically important it is. If you do, you do. It is critically important. You've begun to question the foundations of what you now believe, which you're invited to continue to do. Question everything. Yeah, question the very foundations of everything you now believe. You've begun to do that. So I invite you to keep going and don't stop at simply questioning this pixelated image on your screen or this course that this pixelated image on your screen is talking about. Keep going. Question the very foundations of everything that you now believe. We're clearly not conditioned to do that. We're fed a series of illusions and lines by our families, our school system, societies, advertising, all of that. And you're questioning that. Very good. So this is how we mess ourselves up. We want to believe in the illusion. So we send our mind forth to look for separation and report it back to us that, yes, indeed, we're separate little human beings. Your brother is separate from you. God is separate from you. Everything and everyone is a separate component part, existing completely on its own, individually. Yes, yes. It's because you want to believe it. We do. We want to believe it. If we did not want to believe it and we wanted to believe something else, if we wanted to allow truth to be just as it is, we wouldn't appear to be here looking something like this. This conversation would not be happening. Truth is true. Mm, obvious. Simple, simple. Truth is true. It's real. And here's the thing. To believe in error, we have to make it real and concretize it for ourselves and go through a mental gymnastics process and a rigmarole and a huge, tremendous, needless effort. To believe in truth, we don't have to do anything at all. We simply let it be just as it is. We drop all of our orchestrations, all of that. We drop it and let it go and allow truth to be just as it is. We need do nothing, nothing, but have this willingness to set all of this orchestration and manipulation aside. And the question for each and every one of us is, are we willing to do that? And as always, I hope that you may answer that with a resounding yes. Here's the thing, and this is really valuable. Section 12 of the text, paragraph 1. This section is entitled The Judgment of the Holy Spirit. And right here in paragraph 1, Jesus tells us something very, very important for us to understand about the way mind works and the way we get it wrong. We don't respond here in the world to anything directly. We respond to our interpretation of it. You'll hearken back to the beginning lessons, those first few lessons in the workbook for students, if you've been through it. Lessons such as, I do not know what anything is for. And you may have wondered, well, what does this have to do with spirituality? Everything, as it turns out, doesn't it? Because we don't see things as they are. So we're not responding to them directly or even truly. We're responding to our interpretation of it. We don't see things as they are. We do not see our brother as he is. We see our interpretation of him. Hence the judgment in the example that we just talked about a couple minutes ago with someone's social media feed. We don't see our brother for what he is. First of all, he's not his Facebook profile. He's not his IG. He's not his YouTube page. Oh, that's the subscription button, by the way, if you haven't joined us yet. Had to throw that in. He's not that. He's not the body that he or she appears to inhabit either. It's not that. Yet, when we choose to see error, we think that he is that. So we don't respond to what and who our brother really is. We respond to our interpretation of him. And that interpretation then justifies our response. This is how we get in our own way. That's how we F it all by responding not to our brother as he really truly is, but to our wild and warped and maybe very jaded and judgmental interpretation of him, which then justifies our response. So if we see our brother as out to get us and take our bag of candy and our stuff, then we will respond to him as though he already did it, even if he did not do it. And we're just fabricating this scenario in our own mind. We're already judging and lashing out as though it already happened. We're responding to our interpretation of our brother as a vindictive, nasty thief. So if we think and believe that someone is out to harm us, we'll respond to our interpretation of that and treat our brother as though he has harmed us. If we think that someone's going to enslave us, we'll do the same thing. Verbally attack us, same thing. Attack us on social media just because it exists as a platform for people to attack one another when they could be spreading the message of Holy Spirit instead. We'll respond to our interpretation. That's what we'll do. And in so doing, we continue to perpetuate the illusion of separation. We continue to spin in this cycle that does not appear to end. Yet, it's not real. You do, you can deny that. Of course, we can all deny that. I mean, there are people that deny that spirituality has any value at all. There are plenty of people, you may know several of them, you may be related to them or live with them, that think that because you're interested in something like this, you're completely losing it. You're out there, esoteric and woo woo, out of touch with reality. And no, you're not. You're getting more in touch with reality. As you well know, we could choose to deny it. People do this. People can choose to deny truth the entirety of this lifetime if they want to. This is how we get it wrong. It's how we mess ourselves up by responding not to anything directly because we misperceive it. We're responding to our interpretation of this, a misperception. So, no wonder that when we try to do all this on our own, we get it wrong. We continue to spin in this whirlwind hamster wheel of suffering and pain, and we keep wanting out. But we do the same things that we've been doing that have led us nowhere. So the issues and the problems that we create for ourselves here in the world can't be solved by the mindset that made them in the first place. You can't solve any problem with the state of mind, the mindset that created it in the first place. You've got to switch thought systems. Enter A Course in Miracles, a completely different, 180 degrees different thought system from the conventional thought system that appears to rule the world, that of separation and the ego. This is completely the opposite. So, what we're invited to do is effect this perceptual 180, change our mind. In so doing, we're invited to question the very foundations of everything we now believe, everything. By choosing, and it's a choice, to interpret error, we completely overlook truth. And we pretend that it does not exist. So let's choose to overlook error instead. Instead of interpreting it and overlooking truth, let's overlook error and allow truth simply to be, just as it is. What if we completely flipped the script? This is a choice that we all can make right now in the present moment. When else? There is no other time. Now, you have the choice. Right now, you could choose not to make it. That's a choice. This power of decision has not been taken away from us. We could play the victim, and perhaps you do. Perhaps you know people that do. I think we all do. That claim that they have no choice in the matter. Oh, yes, they do. Most certainly. If this seems wild and radical, yeah, excellent, excellent. Yes, it can seem that way in the eyes of the world to change thought systems completely. Expect resistance. Yeah, it would be beautiful if somebody were able to just tell you, yeah, it's going to be all smooth sailing. It's going to be great. Yeah, you'll never have moments. It's just going to be all rainbows and unicorns and happy, happy. Mm, expect resistance. This conditioning is pervasive. I mean, you don't need anyone to tell you that. You know that. So you know that when you begin to switch thought systems, when you begin to forgive the Son of God and the world, when you begin to extend love rather than judgment, you're going to experience resistance from this state of mind that has held your allegiance for so long, this sense of separation, ego. All resistance is the ego. When you experience doubts about whether you can do this or not, doubts about what this pixelated image on your screen is saying, by the way, that's all that you see right here. When you experience doubts about what this course says, it's the ego that doubts. Our inner teacher, the Holy Spirit, is certain. So we're invited to appeal to our inner teacher for guidance. If you feel afraid to embark on this path, that's quite normal. It is. You have powerful, powerful support on the path, more powerful than you can imagine. And you want to know what's really cool? This is not an outside power. There is no outside. There is no separation. The Holy Spirit is part of your mind. He is. It is. It's that part of our mind that knows truth and will show us what to do at all times. We have only to ask and be willing to listen and then act on it. So it's not flattering to learn or to hear, even though you may already know and have a very good sense that we're not really responding to things as they are. We're responding to our ego centered interpretation of them. So let the thought system of the Holy Spirit replace the thought system of the ego. That's what this course is for. Again, along the way, questions will arise, so I invite you to ask them here. There is no question that is off base here. This is spirituality, after all. There's no question that's too basic or too beginner-ish. If you have one of those and you're concerned that asking it is going to make you seem like a novice, please ask the question regardless, because I guarantee you there are people in this world that have been studying and practicing this material for 20 years, 30 years, or more that will benefit from your asking what seems to you to be a very basic question. And in so doing, you'll not only help yourself, but you will help a growing international community of people worldwide, most of whom you're unlikely ever to meet in person. You'll be having a ripple effect and an impact that you can't even imagine. Whatever the question is, it's more than welcome here. This is all about A Course in Miracles, but please feel welcome to ask questions that deal with spirituality at large. The interesting thing about this course is that it is a self-study curriculum. It's universal in theme, it's universal in application, and it makes no difference what your religious or spiritual background is or is not. No difference whatsoever. So again, if you have not subscribed, I'd love to have you join us. This is the prompt here in the corner of the screen. When you click or hover over that arrow, you'll be invited to subscribe and join us, and I hope that you do that. Thank you to all of you who have recently joined us, and these videos appear several times a week. So if you've got questions, please leave them here, and I will talk to you very, very soon.